Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Apollo Hospitals Limited Q4 FY21 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Devrishi Singh from CDR India. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Neera. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this call to discuss the financial results of Apollo Hospitals for Q4 and FY21, which were announced yesterday. We have with us on this call today the senior management team comprising Mrs. Sunita Reddy, Managing Director, Mrs. Sangeeta Reddy, Joint Managing Director, Mrs. Shobana Kamneni, Executive Vice Chairperson, Dr. Hari Prasad, President of the Hospital Division, Mr. A. Krishnan, Group CFO, Mr. C. Chandrasekhar, CEO of AHLL, Mr. Obul Reddy, CFO of Pharmacy Business, and Mr. Sanjeev Gupta, CFO of Apollo 24/7. Before we begin, I would like to mention that some of the statements made in today's discussion may be forward-looking in nature and may involve risks and uncertainties. Please note the disclaimer mentioning these risks and uncertainties on slide number 2 of the investor presentation shared earlier. Documents relating to our financial performance have been shared with all of you earlier, and these have also been posted on our corporate website. I would now like to turn the call over to Mrs. Sunita Reddy for her opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking time out to join our call. First of all, I hope you and your families are safe and healthy in these difficult times. I trust that you have received the earnings document which we shared yesterday. We started this year on a positive note, post the slowdown which the country had witnessed due to the second wave. The economy would witness a cyclical recovery in the subsequent quarters. Coming specifically to Apollo Hospitals in Q4 of FY21, we witnessed a revival in patient footfalls in non-COVID occupancy across the network, which translated into a strong financial performance. Overall, the quarter witnessed reduced COVID admissions. Just to give a perspective on this, COVID discharges in Q4 FY21 stood at 5,450 as compared to 14,616 in the prior quarter. Additionally, COVID occupancy reduced to a mere 426 beds compared to 1,173 beds in Q3 FY21. In Q4 FY21, surgical discharges continued to gain momentum and grew at a rate of 32% on a sequential quarter basis. The non-COVID discharges during Q4 FY21 registered a 21% quarter-on-quarter growth. Sequential quarter growth in IP volumes was at 9%, with mature hospital volumes growing at 12%. Against this backdrop, let me walk you through the financials of the quarter. Standalone Q4 FY21 revenues grew by 2% quarter-on-quarter to 2,410. Healthcare services grew by 4% to 1,291 crores. SAP revenue degrew by 1% and was at 1,119 crores. Our new hospitals recorded revenue growth of 16% year-on-year and 1% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, while mature hospitals revenue grew by 2% year-on-year and 5% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. The Post-Ind AS 116 EBITDA for Q4 FY21 stood at 336 crores compared to 321 crores in the previous quarter, and this after taking a charge of 25.2 crores on account of marketing costs for Apollo 24/7. Without this cost, EBITDA growth was at 12% quarter-on-quarter. Healthcare services EBITDA was at 280 crores compared to an EBITDA of 248 crores in Q3 FY21, a growth of 13% quarter-on-quarter. Margins in mature hospitals were strong at 24.2%, 234 basis points improvement on a sequential quarter basis. Margins at new hospitals stood at 15.7 for the quarter. comprehensive cost optimization initiative resulted in a saving of 343 crores, which were realized in FY21. Going forward, we expect to sustain a cost saving of around 100 to 125 crores in FY22. SAP EBITDA post-Ind AS was at 81 crores at a margin of 7.3 compared to 6.6 on a sequential quarter basis. On a combined basis, the pharmacy platform EBITDA was at 93 crores at a margin of 6.6%. 118 new stores were opened in the quarter, taking the total to 4,118 stores. Moving on to consolidated results, during the quarter, we have completed the acquisition of a majority stake in Apollo Medics Lucknow. Results have been consolidated in Q4 FY21. We have also completed the acquisition of the balance 50% stake in our Kolkata hospital, renamed Apollo Multi-Speciality Hospital Limited. The results of this hospital will be consolidated from Q1 FY22. Consolidated revenues grew 4% on a quarter-on-quarter basis to 2,868 crores. Healthcare services grew by 7%. Consolidated EBITDA is at 412 crores, a growth of 6% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Healthcare services EBITDA grew by 13%, and healthcare services margins were at 21.1%. Consolidated PAT was at 168 crores. This includes an exceptional item of 25 crores pertaining to the Apollo Medics Lucknow consolidation. AHLL recorded an EBITDA post-Ind AS of 31 crores as compared to an EBITDA of 16 crores in Q4 FY20. The business has recorded a 26% year-on-year and a 7% sequential quarter growth in top line. Net debt as of 31st March 2021 is 922 crore. We have a debt-to-equity ratio of 0.44. The board yesterday approved the formation of Apollo Health Co. AHL in our transformational journey towards creating India's largest omni-channel healthcare platform. This will be done through a slump sale of identified businesses undertaking including A. AHL's back-end offline pharmacy business excluding hospital-based pharmacies, B. AHL's digital healthcare platform 24/7, C. AHL's investment in retail pharmacy business Apollo Medicals Private Limited, and D. the Apollo 24/7 brand, the Apollo Pharmacy brand and private labels into AHL's 100% subsidiary Apollo Health Co. Limited. This proposed reorganization fully protects the economic interests of all AHL shareholders and sets the platform for tapping new pools of investor capital that will enable a rapid scale-up of the digital healthcare platform. At the time of capital raise, AHL valuation will reflect current and future growth potential. Now to present this product and the plans for the future in detail, we have Shobana Kamineni, Executive Vice Chairman, and Sangeeta Reddy, Joint Managing Director, who will walk you through the features of Apollo Health. Shobana and Sangeeta, over to you.
Thank you, Sunita, and I think you clearly articulated what HealthCo is. I will spend the next 5 minutes answering 7 FAQs that we've been hearing, and maybe it will put everything in much better perspective. So the first thing is, everyone says, why is Apollo doing this? Why did they create it? And why should Apollo do it? And what are the promoters going to make out of this? So our chairman, very early, if you see our mission statement, really talks about bringing international care, affordable care within the reach of every Indian. So it doesn't matter how many hospital beds. This is something we went and introspected and said it doesn't matter how many hospital beds we put, that we'll never be able to satisfy what's required. And is it even necessary in this digital day and age where everything is transforming, everything is being disrupted? And Apollo is, let me tell you, the only entity, not just in India, but we can be proud to say in the world, that is in every point of care for the customer. Like as Sunita explained, we talk to you every quarter about hospitals, about clinics. We used to talk to you about insurance, but we still have the TPA. We talk to you about pharmacies. We talk to you about some of the brands we have, the private label brands we have, about different formats of diagnostics. It's all there, the most awesome collection of doctors. So it's all there. We said, what can we do to move this out and make choice so simple for you? Because that's something that we saw. Choice and access was something that we really saw lacking. No point in time as much as during this pandemic. With that, the day the first wave struck, almost 3,000 doctors of ours were just sitting at home with this. Patients had no access to them, and at many times it was tough for them to come to the hospital. What happened during that first wave, I think it was one of the most fortuitous things that Apollo had already launched Apollo 24/7, which digitally enabled in 45 days, 3,500 doctors were on a digital platform that could touch people every day. We had put out a product of the first Corona health check, that health self-assessment scan. 11 million people took it in 2 weeks. So this really gave us a validation that we understood tech, we were agile, and we knew what the customer needed to simplify choice. You've got a slide up there, because sometimes it just defies logic that, when your car is spoiled, you don't tinker with it yourself or YouTube or Google it. You say, take it to a mechanic. If you need anything fixed at home, you either call a plumber, or a legal problem, call a lawyer. But with health, there's so many tortuous ways that we go before we actually come to the right solution. 24/7 is to simplify that and bring within 15 minutes. Can you imagine? I'm not offering you 100,000 doctors. We are offering you 7,000 Apollo doctors, 24/7, available in 15 minutes. And I think that leaving that proposition, we also are the only people who are able to offer you, and this is something that even Amazon or nobody can do this around the world. In 2 hours, you will get the medicine you need, because we realize, what is the point in if a person needs a medicine, an acute medicine, the next day, it's pointless. They can just walk to their nearest pharmacy. So availability and the fact that you can get it in 2 hours. So we realized we have the capability to be the best omni-channel. Apart from that, the diagnostics capability of having an army, literally an army of phlebotomists who can go to the house now. You do not remember how frustrating it was to get up on an empty stomach and go to a hospital to get your test, or to think that you call another service that, now you can get an Apollo service at your house. And I think these 3 phenomenal propositions put together with the only health stack which is backed by data. Just to give you an example, the clinical decision support system that I'm going to ask Sangeeta to talk about once I finish the FAQs. She's put this together. It didn't happen in 1 year or 4 years or 5 years. This is 30 years of data which gets put together to bring the right solutions and the right answers. So that's why the timing is right for something like this. financial services have been disrupted, e-commerce, shopping has been disrupted. We think that healthcare is the one that actually the customer needs most, and Apollo is the one that will give it to them. And so what's the potential of this? All we can tell you is that so far, in the last 500 days, we have served through our pharmacy network and digitally, we have served 270 million people to help them through this pandemic. And I think that that is serious capability. In the first year, in the first 16 months of our operation, this is what we were called upon to do. But the potential for this is really that there will be 100 million Indians in over 700 cities in India, and in towns and places where they would have just heard of Apollo and thought it's so aspirational, but now it's available on their phone. So this is the potential of what a healthcare, what a digital healthcare like we are planning to give is there for 100 million Indians, and this is the potential of that, what we believe in 5 years. And thank you for saying that there are many forward-looking statements, but the revenue potential is close to $2.3 billion, and we can assure you that every one of those, because the pharmacy is within this, you have been tracking pharmacy closely, you will be very disappointed, and our shareholders who own this company will be disappointed if we don't have the stellar performance that we bring to you every year. We'll continue that. That's a promise, that we'll grow that business at 20%. We'll grow it with the margins that you all expect. But on top of that, we'll create this layer of digital business that will create the hockey stick growth. That is what a digital company can do. And that's why Apollo decided, so many people asked us, why did you put this into a separate company? And the reason that Apollo took, as it's not at all a calculated risk, but it is the most intelligent decision, because at this point you have to see, are you an Amazon and just put digital somewhere, or are you a Walmart? And then we realized that actually both are the same. This is the age of omni. Unless you can back digital with physical, there is no future or path to profitability. And I think as a public listed company, we have responsibility to many shareholders and diverse investors. And this is something that we took seriously. So we do expect by year 3, year 4, we will have EBITDA. By year 5, the EBITDA will be significantly higher than if we were just a standalone pharmacy or doing just standalone consults or digital. So I think that it became a very interesting point for us. Another slide that you have available with you is about the physical assets of Apollo. And you will see that this gives you why we'll succeed. Please tell me if anyone, now that we're convinced that Omni is the way to go, there is no other player that has the breadth and strength of physical assets with the brand in terms of hospitals, 10,000 beds, 4,000 pharmacies, 500 diagnostic centers, 200 plus clinics, the capability of 30 million IP/OP that we've managed every year, the digital that we do, and managing 5 million plus insurance lives. We know this story, and for anyone to create the same footprint, physical footprint, if it was even possible, would cost them so much that they would be that they knew it can never happen. But this is available for this company, for Apollo HealthCo. We'll take all of that and layer the digital on top of it. So I think that our business model is superior, and we have the capability, and many partners that have already signed up and are working with us, whether Airtel is one of them, HDFC Bank, the SBI Bank. So we have serious partners who we will be taking along this journey, to make sure that we can service the customer to whatever he wants. This is the new age of digital customer, and this is the platform that you will see that pharmacy was 7%, today has a 7% market share of pharmacy retail. In the next 5 years, we expect that to be close to 30%. So in every one of these segments, whether it's the diagnostic segment, whether it's the telemedicine segment, which were already the largest, as we say, and today we're even larger than 1mg in terms of the number of deliveries we do every day. So whether it's digital, whether it's physical, I think that this will be the defining digital health network, not just for this country, but probably it'll immediately stand out in the world as the most valuable. So Sangeeta, would you be able to explain a little more about the technical part, just the CDSS, or shall we wait for questions?
Whichever way is fine.
Sangeeta, please go ahead, Sangeeta.
Okay, I'll take a brief minute just to say that this transformational journey is grounded on the concept of serving the customer in the most integrated manner, of bringing together the assets that we have, but enhancing the capability and the access to those assets using a digital first approach. So I think most importantly, every touch point, physical, online, website, call center, will stem from a consolidated user profile. This consolidated user profile, which is grounded in a common unique healthcare identifier, is also collating all data points into a personal health record. This is a journey we've been following for a few years now, which is significantly enhanced by the digital and the combination of the pharmacy retail coming into the hospital database as well. So this combination and these touch points will evolve into a symptom check, AI and ML enabled platform of the clinical intelligence engine. This engine has a consumer facing side as well as a doctor facing clinical decision support. And in one line, I will just say that this will enable the latest and the best of healthcare knowledge and information to be available at the touch of a button to all our doctors and all customers who seek our care. And this consolidated data points will be available for us to help the user profile get the best possible medical care. I'll stop with this because I'm sure you have a lot of questions. And I'll end also by saying that all these are really grounded on the best technology stack. We have some of the most powerful engineering brains. We've validated our path forward with global expertise, and whether it's the platforms we're using from Mongo to Postgres to our ability to use React Native for our app and Snowflake for our cloud data warehousing, with all security layers as well as international standards in terms of HIPAA for patient privacy and confidentiality. That's it from me.
So thank you. Right now we'll open the line for question and answers. Of course, I have Dr. Hari Prasad, Krishnan, the entire team with me, and the team from 24/7. Shobna and Sangeeta will also be here to take all your questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Sayantan M from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I have 2 questions. So first one is on COVID vaccine administration. So how many vaccines did we administer in 4Q21 and what is the current run rate? Also, the AHLL primary care segment consisting of clinics It witnessed a strong margin expansion in the quarter. Is it because of the vaccine administration, or are there any other reasons for this?
So Hari and Chandra, please take that.
Yeah, actually we've as of now administered more than 2 million vaccines in the last couple of months, and it's been a seamless integration between the different entities within the group, starting from 24/7, the clinics to the home health care, which has been administering vaccines, because we believe it's the responsibility of the group as the largest provider, and we are already the largest private healthcare provider in terms of the number of vaccinations that we've done. And we have line of sight of enough vaccines for the next couple of months, the existing vaccines. And we aim to vaccinate about another 8 million, that is a total of 10 million people in the next couple of months as we move forward. And we are looking at this as a very important tool in the control of the pandemic and in prevention of the possible third or fourth waves that are on their way. And it is adding to the top line, and we've not added any other additional fixed costs to the vaccination initiative. The staff and the infrastructure is all from within the existing system, or it's being provided by partners, so there is no additional cost. So despite the capping which has been done by the government, there will be a margin on the vaccination program. Chandra, I want to take the clinics part of it.
Yes, Hari, I would like to add that Apollo has done more than 45% of all private vaccination in the country. So it's actually significant.
Yes, ma'am. On the question on AHLL, which I will answer, the Q4 did not have much of vaccine income, so that doesn't change the profile. It was more of return back to normalcy and the pent-up demand coming back, especially in electives and also in the primary care segment. And we continue to hold our growth in the other important segment in diagnostics. So this is a natural growth. It did not have much of vaccine as a trigger for a significant growth in the quarter 4.
And I hope all of you are vaccinated, and if you are not yet vaccinated, please walk into any of the Apollo centers and get vaccinated quickly.
Sure, thank you. My second question is on Apollo 24/7 operating expenses of 25 crore in 4Q. And so is this a run rate that we can expect going ahead in FY22 as well?
I think that it's a starting run rate. All I can tell you is that, and it comes also from the competitive pressure and as we continue to grow. But what we're looking at is that our cost of acquisition and then the people that really engage within the app are much higher than what we expected. So we're running at about 70% of our expenses, and I have Sanjeev Gupta here, who's the CFO of 247. Sanjeev, can you come in with a little insight on some of those figures?
Yeah, ma'am. So I think what we are looking at is that as we ramp up our business and the traction that we are seeing, and almost we are seeing the users coming in and then giving more and more transactions across all the business segments, we may expect a slight upward movement on the expenses. To that extent, the revenue would also match, and on overall basis, the unit economics are getting better month on month.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ankit Agarwal from UTI Mutual Fund. Please go ahead. Ankit Agarwal, may I request you to unmute your line from your side and go ahead with your question? Ankit Agarwal, we are unable to hear you. May I request you to unmute your line from your side and go ahead with your question? Due to no response, we move on to the next participant. The next question is from the line of Mandan Gopal from Sundaram Alternate Assets. Please go ahead.
Good evening to the team, and thanks for taking my question. First of all, congrats on the excellent platform that you have created. I've used myself and found it really useful, the Apollo 24/7. My first question is on how do we see this unit economics of this platform? Because the consultancy, what we pay to the doctors, how is the revenue model for the 24/7 is going to be? If you can explain that, it will be helpful.
Sanjeev?
Diagnostic.
Yeah, I can take this question.
Yes.
Okay, so I think there are 2-3 things that we should be talking about on this. One is that the platform is a feeder to various other entities of Apollo Group. So be it virtual consultation, diagnostic, as well as the pharmacy line. All these ones would support the entire Apollo ecosystem. So this would be going to be an incremental business for all the units of Apollo. That is point one. And second, as far as 24/7 entity revenue side is concerned, so this is going to be the commission or the fees that would be charged on every transaction. That is typically e-commerce platform does. And so we would be having arm's length pricing, and that would take care of the commission and the facilitation fees that the 24/7 company would be charging across the group entities. And you also referred about the unit economics. I would say that at this stage we are positive across all the business sectors on the contribution margin level.
Okay. Can you elaborate a bit on how does it look for in terms of per user, the revenue potential, or where we are right now, or is it too early to discuss on?
Yeah, this is too early, sir. But I think maybe in 1 or 2 quarters we'll come back to you with more details on this.
Okay. So, and a related question. Today, how many people have really used 24/7 so far? And we have an hospital database. We have a pharmacy database. And you have given that in year 3 we will be probably seeing an EBITDA neutral sort of a scenario. So how much this number of users is likely to grow in your opinion, in your models, in the next, say, 3-4 years?
So what we believe is that we should be able to hit 100 million users in by FY25, and we have been seeing a lot of participation from the customers who have been coming into various entities of Apollo Group, and they have now started using Apollo 24/7 for various services. So obviously, as we stand today with 10 million customer base for 24/7, many of them have coming from the Apollo system, and many of them have come from outside ecosystem. So I think from the growth potential, we should be able to hit anything between around 80 to 100 million customers or the users by FY25.
Current number is 10 million, you said?
10 million.
Am I right? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, and thank you. Thanks for taking the question.
So this is in the last 500 days that we've got 10 million registered users.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Thank you. I request to all the participants, please restrict to 2 questions per participant. If time permit, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. The next question is from the line of Neha Manapuria from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. My first question is on the 7,000 Apollo doctors that were available on the platform. From what I understand from the previous, conference calls, we were also planning to induct non-Apollo doctors to get to the 80 to 100 million users, or to tap into the non-Apollo customer base. Are we seeing traction in that? Is that, do you think that could be a challenge, getting the non-Apollo doctors to probably get onto the platform, to consult and generate transactions?
Actually, we found them quite eager. So there are three cohorts of doctors we have. One is the Apollo doctors, and the next is that we have a lot of junior doctors who are available also for, during this COVID time, we had to set up because of the volume. So we have that. And the last part is the partner doctors. Over the years, pharmacy and Apollo has built relationships with doctors around the country. So about 35,000 of them. I think we have that as a pool for us to access as and when, it is about every time we put it out there on this app, it's the quality which is important, and to make the choice simple. So we'll use that 15-minute parameter, and we'll keep adding capacity, and also we'll match it to locality. So it might be that in certain localities they like that local doctor who's also a partner doctor. These are the kinds of this is the business rationale that we're using in terms of bringing it to what the customer needs.
Currently, ma'am, what would be the proportion of the partner doctors? Or currently, it's largely the Apollo doctors that are there on the platform.
Because we're able to meet demand, and okay. I think that it's really the 15-minute and having the right choice and having excellent capabilities. So it could become very, very large when we want. If we're going to get 1 million consults a day, if you look at the only comparable Teladoc or Ping An, they have a huge pool of doctors. And we're getting smarter in terms of using technology also. Sangeeta had explained the CDSS system and the way that we can actually bring the old patient records and bring them together in a cohesive way. All that is part of the experience.
Understood. And my second question is, you mentioned, a 2.3 billion revenue potential. I didn't really catch. Is that pharmacy plus digital plus diagnostic, teleconsult? What does that include? And a second clarification is the year 3, year 4 EBITDA. Is that the EBITDA for the new entity that is AHL, or are you talking just about the digital piece?
No, it's HealthCo that we're presenting to you as a whole, and includes all the assets that Sunita had explained that we're moving into this, and that is the ability for us to give a powerful EBITDA in the shortest time possible. So yes, that's what it means, and it also means that with revenue, 2.3 billion is the revenue of all. It's not GMV type figures. It's like you're actually getting revenue into the company, and what this company will make.
And this is by FY25, or is there a timeline for this target?
So the offline pharmacy piece is different. So what the overall potential is 2 billion that Ms. Shobna said was the overall potential of the digital business that we have.
Understood.
The offline pharmacy business.
Back end, Krishnan, digital and back end. It's HealthCo. It's HealthCo's business model is 2.5 billion in year 5.
Understood. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Sameer Baisaiwala from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. Before I go to HealthCo, just outlook for your core business, which is hospital business. What's the outlook for fiscal 22? And specifically, when do you expect the outpatient and inpatients to recover?
So for me, we have had a good Q1 as we speak, because obviously Q4 was the best quarter for us, and we saw that with the opening up and with non-COVID patients coming in, we saw a good realization on the per patient as well. But with Q1, of course, we had a good occupancy, where occupancy went all the way to 68% and even 71% in the month of May. But as you know, COVID realization is a bit lower for us compared to the non-COVID realizations that we have across. So to that extent, there would be a bit of a drop on the overall realization per patient. But we have done well. We continue to do well, and I think it's going to be the Q2. We hope COVID doesn't come back. We hope the Q3, the third wave is probably a bit away. So we didn't guide you specifically, but we definitely want to believe that we would do much better than the Q1 rate annualized in this year.
I think the important learning here is that we've learned how to repurpose our beds so that while we are looking after COVID patients, we are also looking after the regular patients, and therefore the higher occupancy at 71%. And I think this is a learning for this year. How do we repurpose, create the separation of COVID beds, and continue with the regular work by creating the bio bubbles that we have done?
Okay, great. Thanks. And the question on HealthCo is, I just put one or two subparts together. So is it the way to think about all the products that you're offering, I guess, is also there in PharmEasy or 1mg. So it's a much bigger, broader version of that with a lot of, resources that you already have. Second is on, journey to take from 10 million registered people up to 100 million. Where would you get all these people from? What is going to be a funnel for this? And third is in terms of monetizing the entity, given your strong balance sheet and internal accruals, would you rather wait 2-3 years to build it out and then look for big ticket monetization, or you are thinking differently? Thank you.
So if I can come in and answer, one is that if you look at the names that you mentioned, all those names are now adding on different revenue streams because they lead from a discount model, and I don't think in the long term that's sustainable. So you will see that they're going through their own challenges. But having said that, for Apollo, the funnel is the people, having the single UHID that Sangeeta spoke about. So anyone that has been anywhere in the Apollo universe now will have a single UHID that can just populate on this on this 1247, so you can access your records. So I think it allows the funnel to open seamlessly and also much larger. If you see the traction today of 10 million in the last 500 days, there's probably only Ping An that can match that velocity. There is no other Indian. There's no Indian comparable that has been able to do this in such a short time, and it's full credit to Apollo. The strength of the name. The strength of the name also has brought us serious partners. So you ask where you will get the 100 million from. I would think that the 100 million, there may be 2 or 3 good banks that have good 100 million digitally savvy customers. There are only 2.5 telecom players. One, of course, is on their own journey. The other one has chosen us. So if you look at the Airtel thanks, you'll find Apollo, and they are huge proponents of our loyalty program, the Apollo Circle. So I think that's a serious partnership that will definitely give us the long legs to be able to get to finish the marathon at the 100 million. And I think at the end of the day, it's really about serving the customer. If we do a good job, and I think that during this time we've done a pretty nice job, customers will find other customers, families will join us, and I think the whole health proposition of what Apollo has done will just get multiplied in terms of a name, in terms of the trust.
Thank you. The last part on monetization.
On monetization. So that's what you see. If you just take the example of the VC, everyone else has been doing free consults. I mean, that, please don't let me get started. I think that's one of the worst things you can do. But you give free consults so you can sell your medicines. Apollo will never do that. It borders on being unethical. So people actually pay for, almost the same price as a physical consult. If you see today, our average is between 600 to 700 rupees for a consultation. So I think these are the kind of platforms and monetization. So whether we have an insurance product that we've got with a partner that is currently being filed in IRDA. So we have the ability to one of the products. Fortunately or unfortunately, we come from a parent that reports to shareholders. So we won't be prolificate in spending money, but a large amount of money. So we will match dry powder, and that dry powder will possibly come that we look for investors. But I think that this entity is so large in itself already that it gives our options. Our options are actually enormous of what we can do, but we will match the competitive intensity to grow.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Damayanti Kerai from HSBC Securities and Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. My question is for target revenue of 2.5 million for Apollo HealthCo in next 5 years. What kind of investments has been done so far, and what are you looking to invest in near to medium term while we wait for external investors to join?
Damayanti, may I request you to mute your line from your side, please? Thank you.
Shobna or Sanjeev, can you take that?
Yeah, I thought Ekit sir, you wanted to give answer for this question.
Yes. So I want to know, like, what you have invested so far in the digital platform, and what additional investment could be required to reach the revenue target of 2.5 billion, which ma'am has indicated earlier.
So 2 points. We can't, obviously, the second point to your question, we can't answer it upfront now. To your first point, clearly we have in the 200 crores thus far on the product, and we have a plan to invest another 100 crores, 150 crores in the short run. You will see that, we, as Ms. Shobna already said, we have a plan to get large investors, external investors, etc., into Apollo HealthCo as a platform, and we will take this gradually up. We know that, we have a plan to maturity in the next 3 years, and you will see that, we will definitely continue to own dominant majority of that HealthCo even when we get the investors. So I think some of that investments, I think you'll have to defer it for a later date.
Damayanti, do you have any follow-up question?
Yes, yes. Sorry, I was on mute. So, sir, I was just clarifying. 200 crore investment done so far, and another 100 to 150 crore, which you might do in the short term, right?
That is correct.
Okay. My second question is, Apollo backend distribution is one of your key strengths, which is supporting this Apollo HealthCo. So can you talk about like what kind of scale and reach you have there on the backend distribution side?
As you see that we have, almost annual revenues of about 5,000 crores as of now, and we expect them to grow at about 18 to 20%, and we were in EBITDA of about 6%, which will be moving into the new entity, and then that will find HealthCo expansion as well.
Okay, but sir, anything on the back-end side, maybe in terms of, say, your network, procurement channels and all?
that's a part of the undertaking that we are transferring. See that economic interest going to the Apollo HealthCo, which will serve the front-end retail business from that as a supply chain entity.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I'll get back into queue.
Just to give you a data point, during this pandemic, I think that we are the only group, online and offline, that continued to supply almost at 90%. We were serving 700,000 people a day. Online, offline, it's because of the back end that we were able to create over the last 30 odd years.
Thank you very much. A request to all the participants, please restrict to 2 questions per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. The next question is from the line of Shyam Srinivasan from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Just the first one on the combined pharmacy platform. The growth for Q4 was 4% YY. So just trying to understand why the slowdown in the growth and just linking to the previous guidance of 18 to 20%. So how should we look at that?
The Q4, if you have to see the like-to-like growth, you have to see what happened in the last year, March. After the lockdown announcement, we have seen about 100 crores sales coming in the last 15 days of March. If I take out that in the corresponding Q4 of last year, the growth is about 10.5 to 11%. That is the first one. But overall, there is a slowdown in the demand coming back in the market, not only for us in the overall market, but 2-3 factors that we have seen in our Q4 is on the number side is about 150 stores which we operate in airports and in-house corporate premises that have not seen fully back into the regular level of sales. And then we have something rollout. We generally close substantial part of our rollout by December, which will contribute to the Q4 growth. This year, because of first 6 months, we could not roll out the stores. That rollout happened and traveled into the year end, and these are all the 2-3 factors. But structurally, we are there and we'll come back on the growth numbers.
Got it. Sir, what is the network for fiscal 22?
4,118 operational stores as on 31st March.
No. I meant what is the outlook? How many are you potentially adding in fiscal 22?
Generally, in the last 2-3 years, if you see, notice that we are adding about 300 to 350 stores. We will continue to add that, and maybe we will, with 24/7, we will look at new geographies and speed up the numbers slightly.
Got it. Second question is on some of the metrics for 24/7. So if you look at the annual report you put out last year, I'm just reading out some of the numbers, and maybe if you are in a position to share them as they are today. So we had 1 million weekly active users. We had 2,300 teleconsults per day. We had 3.7 million registered users, which you said has got to 10 million. But if you could share some of the active users and related entities, that will be helpful.
It might be tough for us to share exact numbers, but I just want to tell you that these figures have actually gone up. During the pandemic, they went up almost 10x. There was a day that we were doing something like 30,000 orders, and now it is settled at about 5 to 6x the number. 5x the number that you saw. Little more than that. 6x. So we're tracking smartly with the 5-year plan that we've given.
Got it. And the last point question, CAPEX outlook. What is the CAPEX you're planning for fiscal 22? Thank you.
Sorry, for which one you said? Which business?
So all businesses, Krishnan, yeah. Fiscal 22, what are we looking at CAPEX? Yeah.
So at Apollo, the hospital level, we are looking at a CAPEX of 200 to 300 crores, which is our routine, 250 to 300 crores, which is our routine CAPEX for the year. That is what we are looking at. And as we have said, we have been open for acquisition opportunities. Given that we have cash with us, etc., at the appropriate time, we'll come back on the right acquisition opportunity that we are looking at, which is a bolt-on acquisition if in the markets of our interest. On the HealthCo, we said that the near-term capex requirement is around 200 crores.
Thank you and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Shaleen Kumar from UBS Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Most of my questions have been answered. In terms of your new HoldCo, do you have any preference toward a strategic partner which can come up with more of our digital capabilities and logistics capability, or would you prefer a financial backer, or you haven't, and there's no preference?
No preference except the quality of what will be best for the consumer and for this company.
And see, again, you will be competing against broad-based e-commerce guys, and now like and big corporate houses like with the acquisition of 1mg. So, any sense, what kind of quantum you think would be needed for this business to begin with, at least, right? What kind of a capital pool you think you would be comfortable with?
That's too speculative.
Yes, unfortunately, we're not able to reveal that at this time.
Understood. And in answering the previous participant question, the diagnostic business, right? We were talking about during our last call. So there will be a kind of investment also towards that, or will it be part of this new entity?
Sorry, diagnostics is part of Apollo Health and Lifestyle, as you already know, and we are ramping up the diagnostics business independently as well as with the digital leads coming from 24/7. And as Sanjeev already said, 24/7 will be funneling in patients into diagnostics as well as Apollo hospitals, independent of themselves doing the virtual consultation as well as the pharmacy. So that business will funnel into the diagnostics, which is part of Apollo Health and Lifestyle as of now, and that's how it is intended to continue.
So, will there be any additional capex towards that, or will it be? So my question was like, is it becoming a part of hospital, or since or there will be additional something which you will be doing towards it?
So if there is Chandra, you want to answer about the growth of the diagnostics business and how we are looking at it?
Yeah, I think a primary emphasis on the diagnostics growth, we generated nearly about 180 crore revenue last year. We hope to hit a 300 crore mark this year, but we also are ramping up demand that is coming via the 24/7 platform and to be able to service it, towards which I think the growth will be largely organic. The capex requirements are minimal, except for some regular capex as of now. Interesting inorganic opportunities, we are open and alive, but at the right valuation. So we will be looking at that only when we believe that there is value ahead once we acquire. And it fits in strategically, fits in appropriately into our own ramp-up and growth plans. So we will be opportunistic on that part with respect to inorganic capex requirement. But organic growth is underway and at a prolific pace.
Understood. And if I can squeeze in last question on the proton bit, when do you think you will be able to achieve or cost of capital on that, or what kind of return on capital do you foresee on a steady state basis on that, and how far is it?
So we think that so we would ideally have to have achieved that this year itself. But because of the pandemic, one is the medical value the tourism is not happening, and even people within the country are not traveling so much. We have broken even, as you know. We would ideally want the business to get to at least 100 crores of EBITDA next year. That is the plan. This is FY23. FY22, we would definitely want the business to give us at least a 50 crores EBITDA, which is what we are targeting, and hopefully we will achieve.
So just to add to that, I think we should not look at Proton in isolation. What we have done is to create oncology as a vertical, and we are looking at the growth of the entire vertical, which is we're looking at probably a 2,000 crore revenue at a margin of 30%. And this will include revenue from Proton, and that's the way to look at it, not as an isolated one machine.
Thank you very much, and sorry to interrupt you, Shaleen. I'll request you to come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. The next question is from the line of Ritesh Rathod from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. You mentioned you have invested 200 crores in the digital business and you're planning of 150 crores. Can you elaborate what are the areas in which you have invested till date and which areas you plan to invest further?
Sanjeev?
Essentially, the investment is towards, the technology side of the business. The infrastructure as well as the people. Broadly, the expenses are towards the site.
Okay. And is the platform in-house developed or this is some third-party platform you have taken and you have worked upon it?
This is in-house, sir.
Okay. And who are your technology partners?
So we've got a couple of vendors working with us, but essentially.
Hello? Can I take this? Yes, Sangeeta, please do.
Yeah. So the platform is basis on a platform that we had originally created in a standalone company where the PHR was consolidated and conceived as a federated model where many players can come in. And the PHR is the core. There are other critical building blocks and pieces which have been developed by a core technology team. 80% of the work has been done by this core team. This includes, people from IIT, those who have returned from Silicon Valley, somebody like that heads the team. We've also had one small external vendor to do small pieces of it to accelerate the pace of development. But the integrated concept and design is very much part of creating this integrated user experience. We are on a Microsoft platform in terms of CRM. However, the rest of the stack is all Google. So we're bringing this together, like I said in the beginning, using Mongo for the documents, other related platforms which are best in class. And we've had this validated also by international experts.
Okay, that's helpful. Maybe on the future investment, you mentioned that you will match up to the competitive intensity of the peers or the competitors. What's your current customer acquisition cost and what kind of your willingness to spend in terms of future customer acquisition cost? And is that number 150 crore you mentioned, is that linked to this thing or that's an independent number for future technology investment? Hello? Am I audible?
Sanjeev, will you take that?
Sorry. I don't want to get into specifics in terms of CAC because one is that you must understand that our cost of acquisition is possibly the lowest. Please figure it out. No one has ever got, if you do the math, no one has ever got 10 million registered users spending, including technology, only 150 crores. So, but having said that, and going forward in future, we do understand, and we've done several experiments in different channels, and those channels that we've learned and failed fast, fixed fast, tried new things, have been able to get us, have been able to give us new avenues of growth and opening the funnel. So going forward, we think that the customer acquisition cost will always remain about anywhere between 30 to 40% of competition. But we will be spending for sure on this, and we'll find many adjacencies. But I cannot give you exact figures.
And when you mentioned 150 crores of future investment,
it included marketing.
Thank you very much. I request to all the participants, please restrict to 2 questions per participant. The next question is from the line of Prakash Agarwal from Axis Capital Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Question is on the structure. Just trying to understand, there's a comment on the presentation which talks about slump sale consideration of 1,210 crores will be received by AHEL. So this is subject to an external capital raise whenever it comes. So what is the assumption here in terms of valuation and what percentage stake sale is being considered?
I think valuation is not something that we can share for now, but I guess all of you analysts know that the pharmacy business itself is a significantly valued business today. Even if you take 30 times EBITDA of FY23, you can yourself figure out what is just the offline pharmacy valuation. On top of that, you have the online pharmacy. On top of that, you have the digital health business that we are planning. So I guess you can definitely figure out that the valuation is going to be quite a good one when we do it very soon. We will get this money over the next 3-6 months.
But here you assume some stake sale, right?
Sorry, what is it?
So
yes, the 3 to 6 months need to come in, and yes, there would not be any stake sale, right? Because we are only doing a slump sale of the business there, and we would be getting the money which is due to Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited. When there is a money which is coming in, there would be primary infusion, and hence there would be a primary capital which should come in, and which should be part of that would be used to pay down this 2,100 crores. 1,200. Sorry.
This 1,210 crores will come to the main parent company.
That's correct.
Okay, understood. And we'll have to probably pay some tax. That's fine. Okay. And second was on the vaccine run rate. You mentioned as of now we did about 2 million plus. What is the current, weekly, monthly vaccine run rate you are expecting for June, July?
In June, as I said, we did about 1.5 million, and we with more of government vaccination programs opening up and stuff like that. Despite that, we are looking at, as I said, a total of 8 million further in the next 2-3 months.
Next 2-3 months. And do you expect this to be a 2-3 month kind of thing? By December, a large part of vaccination should be done, or you expect this to be a long-ended one?
I mean, it is very unpredictable, right? We really do not know whether a booster dose is required, whether a new strain will come in and new vaccines will come in. So it's all very uncertain. But I guess with the knowledge that we have now, I think by December, for the current pandemic, the vaccination for the country would be on a good platform.
Okay, perfect. And we are charging 150 now versus 300 earlier.
That is a cap. That is a cap. Whatever is the cap prices by the government, we're charging that.
Perfect. Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Sayan Mukherjee from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. I'm just, on 24/7, as we increase the number of customers, and one of the key differentiator which you mentioned is the entire, back end that is available with Apollo. Now, if you have 10 crore people on the platform, what do you think about the back-end infrastructure? Like how many pharmacies would be needed, how many diagnostic centers, how many hospital beds? If you can throw some light in order to match this growth, how much expansion is needed in the Apollo's core business?
That's an interesting question, and I think I answered it in what Chairman said, that create access for all Indians, affordable health care, and it could never be done physical. But the fact that we are matching physical and digital. So just to give you an example, my stores have now the capability of doing almost 30% more because they're also doing online. So I think that there are different metrics for different stores depending on sizes and growth. So we don't need, for 100 million customers, we don't need the same number of stores that we had earlier to be able to service them. It can be done, as more and more go digital, we can cluster stores, cluster pin codes, and be able to send this out very intelligently. It's just, with video consult, it's even easier, where they can be anywhere and they can consult in the most remote location, and this can be done with a variety of different diagnostics also, as and when we get more into connected devices. So I think that Apollo itself is very cognizant. Sangeeta has given you the framework that we have the best of technology, and as we keep ramping technology, we'll find that we can be more and more asset light.
And if I can just add one line to that, I think that what is important in this whole initiative is the fact that we are creating a strong digital presence which is centered around the customer and on strong technology, and that the models are going to keep evolving. And we are prepared and ready for this transformation of healthcare which is coming around the corner.
Right. So, ma'am, this could also mean that, you could tie up with pharmacies which are not part of your network, or hospitals, which are not part of your network. I mean, that's also an option to service a large number of customers.
I think in Apollo HealthCo, the journey over 100 million customers and giving them what they want will give answers to many of these questions.
Okay.
Yes, just to add, I think Apollo has headroom for growth. In terms of just the number of beds, there is more than 50% availability. We moved into Tier 2. We are also in Tier 3. We continue to grow the managed beds, which is one way of making sure that the Apollo quality is delivered across the system. The second is, with the creation of Apollo Health and Lifestyle, we've developed new formats of care. So daycare surgery, clinics, and the birthing centers. So they are new formats of care, which is in a way low capex, asset light. And with this, with the current infrastructure that we have, we can certainly grow it to serve 100 million consumers.
Okay. Ma'am, if I can ask one more question. This is just on the numbers for this quarter. You have separated out the 24/7 operating cost. Now, this cost would have been there in the previous quarters as well. So, to that extent, this cost must be sitting in pharmacy and hospital, which is now separated out. Is that a right thought process here? And that might have expanded reported margins for this quarter for these segments?
No, the earlier quarter costs were very low. It's only from Q4 that we really started, showing the spending higher on marketing, etc. And which is why we decided that it's important that we start showing that separately, and so that going forward also it's available for you as a separate number. But Q3, Q2 and all were very small number. It was in the region of single digits. It was more capex in the Q2 and Q3. It is only from Q4 that there are more marketing costs, and Q1 has a bit more higher.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin from DAM Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Taking a question. Just two questions. One is on the diagnostic business. One is with the diagnostic essentially being a key element 24/7, and our diagnostic presence right now being relatively limited in terms of footprint. How are we looking at bridging this potential demand and a full demand which can come through on this business?
Chandra can answer that.
Yes. So on the diagnostic business, I think in terms of we are mapping our own pin code journey and lat-long journey along with what 24/7 team does. So we work very closely. Our expansion, we are very well present in south of India, east of India, parts of central. Our presence in pockets of west and north are what we have already begun to do. We could have done it faster, but for the pandemic across the last year. That's why I think the second area which is very key, and we are ramping up in a very significant way, literally an army, as Ms. Shobna had mentioned in our earlier area, is to also build our home collection capability, which will be the demand that will come from 24/7. And that's something that we are ramping up. Lab capacities in most of the currently planned map pin codes are well in place. Some ramp up required, but that is something part of our organic growth plans. It will not require any significant ramp up. Third area where we are consistently constant is on hospital lab management, which is a very known model of diagnostics business, asset-light model of diagnostic business. So we are actively ramping up our hospital lab management contracts, whereby we acquire not just a captive business of the hospital, but also have a provision to use the lab to service our other customers from outside. So these two strategies. Third, I mentioned very clearly that there will be, we'll keep our eye open for attractive inorganic strategic fit to come into our play, as and when the demand requires us to, and such opportunities arrive.
And Chandra, can you just probably, you did mention a number earlier. What is the growth number that you indicated that we are on the organic growth number that we're seeking over the next couple of years for the business?
So we have reached about 180 crore, which was the guidance for the FY21. We are nearly there, 179 odd for the year. We are hoping to reach 300 crore in the current year, that is FY22. And our move to FY23 will be targeting to at least do a 500 crore business. And that's the number that we are aiming to do. And there will be some burn, so we'll not yet reach the steady state EBITDA, but then because we'll have consistent growth related burn. So we're looking at targeting about 500 crores in the following financial year.
So to just push on that, FY20 we were 120 crores, so we're literally talking of 4x revenues in a period of 3 years.
Sorry? Can you repeat that?
I'm saying we were 120 crores of revenues in FY20. So in a period of 3 years, we're talking of literally 4x revenues in the diagnostic business.
So we are clocking, so we should not see the whole cumulative 180 crore as the number. If we were to clock the March run rates and the quarter 4 run rates, we are well poised for 300 crore for the next year. And on the back of that, we have plans for expanding it to 500 crore the following year. And the second area, we definitely will gain a lot from this digital push that the group has taken via 24/7. Our current abilities to serve only need to be ramped up. So I think the growth projections are quite realistic.
Gotcha. And just one more question on the the value unlock in the healthcare business. Now, so the intent of the value unlock or the primary fundraise that will happen in the business would be towards what? In sense, from whatever discussions we've had so far, it doesn't seem to be a business that will take in too much capital. So what are we looking to achieve by doing a value unlock at this, or primary fundraise in the business at this stage?
No, so there will be, so if you look at it, there will be ramp-up costs which are going to be there on the digital business, as Ms. Shobna already said. So, what we spoke to you about the CapEx was the CapEx which is going to be there for the near term, and which will be until the investors come over the next 6 months. But there will be ramp-up costs on the digital over the next 3 years before it eventually becomes profitable, as Ms. Shobna said. Second, we will also be looking at acquisitions, etc., as we, on the tech space.
If I can just add a line in that, I think it's to do a capital structure which is appropriate for the type of digital company which is evolving.
Okay, ma'am. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take the last question from the line of Abhishek Sharma from Jefferies India. Please go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. So basically on 24/7, I just had a basic question. So I wanted to understand in teleconsultation, will 24/7 have its own doctors, or will it only rely on Apollo doctors as well as third-party doctors? And similarly in diagnostics, will you rely on third-party labs, or will you just use Apollo Labs only? And similarly, in e-pharmacy, order fulfillment will be only from Apollo pharmacies, or will you be using other pharmacies as well? Thank you.
Hello. See, like I had said earlier, I think it is a very consumer. This is a very consumer-led question. What we are creating is the best of Apollo. That everything that we have requires the stamp of Apollo for quality. And if it so happens that that right now we have the full diagnostic capacity and they'll continue to scale. So what they have, I would think that even the pharmacies in PIN codes where they're not available might have partnerships. Diagnostics might have partnerships, but the underlying guarantees of quality and availability have to be from the service provider. 247 is an agile network that will serve the customer.
Understood. And on teleconsultation, is my understanding? Sorry, please go ahead.
Well, we do have our own doctors. We have our own doctors, but of course not the level of specialists and super specialists that Apollo has.
So how many doctors will 24/7 have out of these 7,000 that you have onboarded?
At this point, we have about 150.
And how will that number ramp up, ma'am, as we go forward towards?
It would be very difficult to speculate on that. It truly depends on how this will move. But if you look at Ping An today, they have 5,000 of their own doctors.
And for you, these 150 doctors, they serve as gatekeepers who can channel the referrals into more.
That.
Right. Is that your objective?
Also.
Yeah.
No, okay. They do that also. They're double hatting.
Understood.
The importance is for them to be able to give an experience in 15 minutes, a quality experience in 15 minutes.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking time out for this call. FY21 has largely been regarded as a period of disruptions caused by COVID-19. Looking back, I am truly proud that our teams have risen to the occasion. We used this time to launch a well-curated omni-channel offering, moving closer to the consumer and delivering value to all our stakeholders as well as our shareholders. Thank you for taking time again for this call, and we look forward to interacting with you next quarter. And for those of you who would like to have a meeting with the team, please reach us through Krishna Kumar.